Republican Senator Josh Hawley has been calling on the Senate to hold an immediate vote banning TikTok, but his efforts were blocked by one of his own colleagues. Our congressional correspondent Kilmany Dukart joins us now live with those details. Kilmany.
Katrina, Bob, good to be with you. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill seemed more convinced than ever that the social media platform poses a threat to national security following the testimony that we heard on Capitol Hill from TikTok's CEO. On Wednesday, Republican Senator Josh Hawley tried to capitalize on that momentum by fast-tracking his own legislation banning the social media app.
We shouldn't give new open-ended authority to federal bureaucrats. We should target this threat specifically. That's what this bill does that we have before us today. It goes right at the problem. It bans TikTok in this country. It protects the American people. And it sends the message to communist China that you cannot buy us.
Hawley's bill, dubbed the No TikTok on the United States Devices Act, would direct the president to use emergency powers to block transactions from TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, and require the director of national intelligence to brief Congress on threats to national security, including whether the Chinese government is using or manipulating user data. Republican Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, though, blocking that over First Amendment concerns.
One of the bills they're looking at doing is broad enough that the president will be given the power to designate whatever country he sees fit to be an adversary and whatever company underneath that definition. It would basically be a limitless authority for the president to ban speech.
TikTok's CEO denies that the Chinese government is using the popular app to spy on American citizens, but a number of other countries have already taken similar action, including Canada, to either ban or prohibit the social media app.
All right.
I take it she's done. Okay. Kilmany Dukart, thank you very much. And by the way, folks, we're going to have Senator Al D'Amato with us later this hour to speak more on TikTok. He's very passionate about that topic. And joining us right now to discuss that and a number of other issues is former Georgia Congressman and Lieutenant Colonel in the U.S. Air Force Reserve and host of the Doug Collins podcast, Doug Collins himself. Doug, when you see the TikTok thing, there's a real battle going on right there.
It is.
I don't think anybody really is in favor of ByteDance and TikTok stealing information, but it's like, how do you go about it, right?
And that's the key. And I think Hawley is trying to do it in a very specific way. 1 point to TikTok, that is it, without any. But Rand Paul makes a great point as well. At what point do we decide that something else should have the government ban it because we don't like either where they're from or what their outlook is? This is a really tough decision to make. I think there are other things that we could do to maybe protect the data that is out there. But there's also another act out there that's being put out as well in the Senate right now that basically is just setting up a governmental agency. It goes all, and that is a terrible bill,
right?
The Warner bill. So if anything good about the Hawley bill, it's very specific, but then that is a very specific for this thing now. But what 2 weeks later becomes the hot topic that we want to ban. Right. We really don't need government getting into that, and I think that's going to be the problem.
Yeah, great point there. Want to go to your home state of Georgia. We know that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is in town, or not in town, in the state today. Specifically, he's going to be joining the governor, and he will be speaking at the country's biggest gun store today. What do you make of that? I thought the location was unique for many reasons, especially considering the horrible tragedy that happened last week in Tennessee.
Well, it is, but that gun store is also pretty incredible where he's going, and I've been there many times. But the other issue is it's also, I think, very much noticed that Georgia is a state that is, for Republicans, is going to be very important in the next election cycle. He's, done everything but say I'm running for president. So this is a good step for him to make as a first sort of step into a state that, frankly, Trump is very popular in. So this is a step in for him. The other thing is, though, I don't find it as interesting about the gun store because I think it makes a very good narrative into the sense it is not the guns that is necessarily the problem here. It is the problem of a soft target in which a person looked at two other public school targets that had armed guards and chose a soft target that did not have one in which they had been a part of. There's other things that need to be discussed here. So I think it's just a normal stop in the state of Georgia politically as you go.
I wanted to ask you about Brian Kemp being there, the governor.
Right.
The relationship Mr. Kemp has with the former president. An interesting one because, well, address that if you will, because that's who DeSantis is appearing with.
Well, it could be, and I think you could look at it from that perspective that Brian Kemp and Donald Trump do not have a good relationship. And Brian Kemp would say, the governor would say, it's not because of him, it's because of Donald Trump. But I think that has been a contentious part as we go forward. Him appearing with DeSantis, I would not see as an endorsement up front. I would see it as, okay, I recognize he is someone from another state. He's possibly going to be running for president, very popular. There's no sense for him to turn it down. There's no sense for him not to be there. He just came out of our session in Georgia, just ended, the General Assembly session just ended, so this is the day after. I think it's just a way to saying, look, Georgia's important. I'm here. If you're going to be here, you're not going to be here by yourself. I'm going to be here with you, sharing the spotlight.
Do you think Georgians are ready to be maybe open to a different GOP candidate than Donald Trump?
They could be, but again, Georgia, as we're seeing right now in polling across the country, Donald Trump has a solid 30 to 40% of Republican primary voters, and in some areas it's higher. I would say in Georgia it's probably a little bit higher, with him in particular. Other issues, maybe not. So I think this is really DeSantis' first step out to say, I'm an alternative to Donald Trump. We're not seeing as many other candidates who are actually announced come through Georgia, so it's interesting to see.
What's your role in the Air Force Reserve?
I'm a chaplain. And just made colonel, by the way.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yes.
When you see them talking about a shortage of people in the military, what's your take on that? What do you think gets more people excited about joining our military?
I think they want to go in for service. And I think what they're seeing right now is from the vaccines, from the problems of Afghanistan to the problems that we've seen of over deployments and running our military very short. As a chaplain, my heart is with the service members. No matter, I'm an Air Force, but I served in Balad in Iraq with every branch. Is we're just seeing the military is stretched thin. They don't feel appreciated in many ways. And everything seems to be toward a more ideological agenda of everything else but the job. And when I saw, and I know that it's on the chart here, so we just saw that the helicopter crash in Kentucky.
Yeah.
This is, from my perspective, that's where my job actually, really kicks in, is beginning to not only the counseling, but also dealing with grief, dealing with the why we do this. This country gives a great lip service many times to its military, and they want to. And I think we got to get back to that being more of, we're putting them first, our service members all across the world first and foremost, and not use them as the pawn, the police force, however you want to. And when we do that, I think you'll see attendance come back up. But also, frankly, it's like everything else. It's money and assignments. Younger folks can go into the private sector, make a lot more money, and not have the commitment and sacrifice they'd have in the military.
All right, Doug Collins, always great to have you with us in studio. Thank you.
Thanks.